you ever hear about the time that I got fired from ECW? Did I ever tell you that story? Like legit got fired from the company. I was fired by Paul Heyman, my boss, who I loved so much. Yeah, I got fired. So here's what happened. So I don't know what show this was at. Can't remember. It was in the ECW arena, and I know the spot. It was the spot where Tommy held me for the pile driver and my breast fell out. And I was, you see me trying to, like, I'm holding on to his legs, but you see me doing upside down. I'm trying to do this. I'm giving him the Iggy, like, hey, and he's turning me to all four corners, and I'm just like, dude, like my boobs are hanging out, And so I get to the back, whatever, I'm mortified. And Tommy's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I don't know how much time had passed, but I remember another show at the arena, and I am in the back, and Joey Styles says, I don't remember exactly verbatim what he said to me, but it was in reference to the Pioneer home video that was put out about ECW. And he had mentioned that clip made it uncensored. And Joey tells me this, and I go, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, your boobs are showing. It was uncensored. I was like, oh my God. So now I'm freaking out because I didn't know. I thought they were going to pixel it. And I was always told, like, pixeling costs so much money and it takes a long time to pixel something and all this. But I'm just like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Like, I wasn't aware that it was going to be on the video. So anyway, long story short, Joey stooges it off to me, right? So I make a beeline and I go to Paul, and he's sitting where he always sat. There was this table in the back. He was behind the table. And thank God I had Tommy Dreamer next to me. This all went down. And I was like, Paul, what the hell with Pioneer? What happened? Blah, 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 blah. And Paul's like, what? And I was like, my boobs are showing. And I'm freaking out. And Paul looks at me and he said, I don't know what to tell you. Call the president of Pioneer or call the whoever of Pioneer. I go, well, I will. And it was Pioneer, right? Do I have the right name?
Yeah. Okay. Pioneer was ECW's DVD and VHS distributor. Yep.
I go home that weekend, and then Monday morning comes, I get the phone number, and I call them, tell them who I am, and I'm like, how many copies of this, like, did you guys make? And I don't even remember. It's like 100,000 or something. And I was just like, oh, and like, they were already being sold and distributed. And I said, listen, that is like, I forget the term that I used for it. I don't know. I don't even know what it's called, but I told him, I said, I've never posed nude. It's a violation of my privacy. Like, this is my body and it's out there, and I'm explaining, and the guy understood, and he's just like, well, we can't take back what we already sold. And I was like, well, I don't know if I said, can you pull them from the shelves? Like, I was really livid and embarrassed. And he said something like, okay, we won't. I mean, I think he gave me a bullshit answer. Like, we won't, process any more copies or something to that effect, whatever. And I was just like, okay. So then now I'm heartbroken because I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, somebody said you can sue because not defamation of character. It's something to do with your body being naked.
Right. I know what you mean, but
I can't remember
the consent.
Yeah, it was without my consent because it's me and they didn't censor it. If they censored it, I wouldn't have had a problem, but they didn't censor it.
And you didn't have any separate contract with Pioneer. to put out your likeness. Please. So not even your likeness and your name, it was now your chestral region.
Yes. No, I didn't have anything. I don't think any of us did. It was just like whatever we did for the company was fair game. We were used in every aspect, video games, whatever. And so I don't know how long after that. It might have even been the same day. I can't remember. My phone rings. I answer it, and it's Dreamer. And he goes, yeah. He goes, hate to say this, but you're fired. And I go, what? And he goes, Paul told me to tell you you're fired. Paul didn't even call me. Tommy told me. He goes, Paul told me to tell you you're fired. I go, for what? And he goes, you called Pioneer. And I go, did he not tell me to call Pioneer? And he goes, yeah, he did. And I go, were you not right next to me when he said that? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I'll call you right back. And he hangs up the phone. So I'm like, what the hell, right? 5 minutes goes by. My phone rings. It's Tommy, you're rehired.
Oh, all right. So the firing was not like it's.
I was fired for like 5 minutes. So the next weekend, I don't know what town we were in. We were somewhere. And I remember we were all sitting in these seats. I think they were like fold down seats. It looked like an auditorium. I don't know where the hell we were, but we were all sitting there. And Paul was like 3 or 4 rows back. And I turned around and he's sitting there and I look at him and he's like, I guess I need to apologize. And I go, no need. And I turned back around and I just sat there like this. I was so pissed. I was so pissed, but that was it. And that's pretty much the whole story. And it was never spoken of again. And I don't know if they ever took them off the shelf. I have no idea, but they were sold. And I was heartbroken.
Wow, interesting. So it was a 5-minute firing. So did you even have time to say, like, what am I going to do in that 5 minutes? Or was it just that fast?
In those 5 minutes, I called WCW, WWF.
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't. I didn't call
okay. I was going to say, damn.
No, I didn't call it because I knew Tommy was next to me. And I knew he could back me up, which I don't know why he didn't do it in the first place because he's a dingbat. I was like, dude, you were right next to me. He goes, oh yeah, wait a minute. He goes, I'll call you right back. And then when he called me back, he goes, you're rehired. And I go, what did you tell him? And he goes, I told him that I heard him say, call Pioneer, call the head of Pioneer. And right. Paul didn't remember telling me that. So like if Tommy wasn't there, I would have been up shit's creek without a paddle because
right.
I wouldn't have had anybody to remind him. But, thank God Tommy was there to save me. But do you believe that? For like 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes, I sat and I was on my bed and I was sitting on my bed and I was like, oh my God, am I really like, is he going to fire me for real? You can't, there's no way. I didn't do anything wrong. That was the only time. That was the only time I ever got in trouble, really, with Paul.
Now, those sets were interesting, those ECW compilations, because they had a couple of them that were really popular. They had the same ones that we saw all the time. It was like, I think it was like Hardcore Revolution. And there was like, I don't know if it was like ECW's greatest matches or something. But then there was the pay-per-views. It was more about seeing the pay-per-views than it was a lot of the match compilations. And they had like Best of the Dudleys and Best of Sabu, and they had those out, but you had to go to certain places to get them. They weren't everywhere. I remember getting them at the Wiz and Suncoast and Sam Goody and your specialty places. But I don't remember your incident being on one of the DVD. Maybe it was pulled before it could have gotten to the hands of the regular buyer. Maybe maybe that's a rarity. I don't even know. I wouldn't know which one it is to even see the title.
I don't either. And I don't know if they were selling it uncensored. Like, you know how Girls Gone Wild, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they were doing that because I never had a copy for myself. But I do know that when it was on our television program, it was pixeled.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, if they can pixel it for our show, why couldn't they pixel it for Pioneer Home Video? Unless they were just pushing it like Francine bears all at the ECW. Let's say, something stupid, like to sell copies.
Oh, absolutely. You would think that'd be plastered right on the front cover.
Yeah, but I never saw it. I mean, if Joey didn't tell me, I probably would have never heard about it because I didn't have any of the Pioneer tapes. I used to get the TV show mailed to me every week on a VHS. So I didn't really need the Pioneer stuff because I had every episode at my fingertips.
Right.
So if Joey didn't stooge it, I would have never known.
Interesting. Yeah, you got Extreme Evolution is one of them. Path of Destruction is another one.
Path of Destruction?
Path of Destruction.
Oh, path. It's like half.
What do you think I said? Half of Destruction?
Yeah.
Half of Destruction. But now, Girls Gone Wild. There's a new documentary, I believe, about the Girls Gone Wild. At least it's new to me. I just saw a trailer for this Girls Gone Wild DVD. And in the trailer, there's a girl who was featured in one of the commercials who talks about seeing herself in the commercial and going through the whole entire thing of like, oh my God,
no consent.
That's me. No, she consented, but she was way out of it when she consented. So yeah.
Oh, so they got her when she was like inebriated or something. Or
oh yeah. And then like you watch the thing and it talks about how like messed up she was when she did it and the things that she did when they got her and like,
oh wow,
oh my God. You just go back to that time. Just think about like watching like Howard Stern at 11 o'clock on E, and then he goes to commercial and you hear the steel drum music of Girls Gone Wild. It's like that was so normal for like a 2 to 3 year span where that was just like commercial time on a television show,
right?
On regular network television. And now it's like, that's so not acceptable. And think about how many people were in your shoes to like stop production from happening like that. It's incredible. Now there's a whole documentary about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I never thought when it happened, like I was embarrassed, obviously, but I never thought they would put it for sale without it censored. I never thought that, and to this day, I don't know if it was done deliberately or if it was an accident. I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'm just like, back then I was furious and I was upset and I got fired for 5 minutes. So, and the best part is Paul forgot. He even told me to do what I did. And I was just like, really? So I don't know. I just found it to be odd. I just wonder, like, not that I wonder every day because I haven't thought about this in years, but now that we're talking about it, I just wonder, was that done deliberately? If you have it, anybody watching, do you have that? And if so, on the box, does it say anything about like, Francine bears it all or something stupid to sell, copies? I'd like to know because man, that's really shitty if that's the case. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. What's the name of it if that's the case?
I don't know.
No, that's what I'm saying. If anybody knows what's the name of it,
I don't even know what show it was on because Tommy, I mean, he pile drove me a bunch of times. Like I took his pile driver several times. So I don't know what show it was on, but I just feel like if it was deliberately left untouched like that, and no one asked me and no one told me, like I just think that's kind of sleazy, but
just a little bit.
What can I do? It's just like, man, it sucks. Sometimes being a female is really hard, especially in this business.
Yeah. So if you work for Pioneer Home Video,
well, they're out of business.
Or you're Paul Heyman, we'd love to hear from you.
Pioneer's out of business, but
I know they are. But if you work for them and you're watching, let us know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Let me get the guy who I called. I don't even remember who it was. But
Bill
man, did I had some heat for it. I'll tell you what. I mean, I think any normal girl would have done the same thing if she cared.
Absolutely.
Why'd I get in trouble for that when I was told to do it? Anyway, that was my firing story.
Good. Well, we're glad that it worked out for you in the end, and you stayed till the last
5 minutes later,
single second.
Yeah,
that the company was in business. So.
I went down with that ship, brother.
Yes, you did. Maybe you should have called WCW in that 5 minutes.
My 5 minutes, I could have got a big deal. Oh well.
Bischoff, I'm free. Give me a call.
Live and learn, pal. Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video, or click over here to listen to my podcast. And as always, thank you for your support.